This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Tracy James, and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are, well, off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, Mike Suderman joins me in talking about two movies about princesses, with The Princess Bride and Princess Mononoke. Welcome!
Hello! Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, you just keep showing up, so I gotta let you talk about the things.
These are fantastic movies. I'm excited to talk about them. I mostly just gush about them.
Yeah, I think this is one of the episodes that when I had mentioned to my friend group, which you are included in, that I was gonna start a podcast, which is like, do you have these movies? I'm gonna do it. So you've been waiting a long time for this.
It's really nice that I'm included in your friend group. So
yeah,
I appreciate that. It's recorded now, so you can't take it back.
I can't take it back. Oh, what have I done? So I mean, I brought it up already, but so why are you so excited about these movies?
I love them both. The Princess Mononoke I saw in a theater. My uncle took me to see it when I was a kid, and it just blew my mind. It was like I hadn't really seen any anime before. I hadn't seen and so it was just like something totally wild and like fantastical, and something that that kind of, it's not like dark fantasy the way you describe it now with like Game of Thrones and stuff, but just for my tiny brain at the time, it was just like there was demons and there was like these weird anti-heroes and people with like good intentions but still villains. I don't know. It was just it was totally fantastic. And then Princess Bride is just absolutely a delight. Every scene of it is just funnier than the last, and it's just it's great. So if I was gonna have an episode to be on and have some things to talk about, I just wanted to gush and have you do audio engineering on my gushing session. So
I don't know, you're speaking pretty eloquently today. I think we're just going to keep it all in, what you want to say about these things.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. But what about you? What led them to be on your shelf?
Well, Princess Bride, I agree with you. Every time I watch this movie, I just sit there and smile and laugh. And, my mother was over when I was watching this, and I just sat there and talked through the whole thing. I'm like, she's like, all the words to the whole movie? I'm like, yes, I've seen this movie like a million times and I still love every minute of it. It's a whole thing. Whereas Princess Mononoke, how do I put this in a nice way? I sat there and watched it, and it drained all energy out of me. And I was like, can you please stop now? And then it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I was just like, oh my God, it's not ending. So yeah.
So wait, that doesn't explain why you bought the DVD or own the DVD.
Oh, well, I own the DVD because when I was like a teenager, I was into anime on a certain level. And then because it was mostly like the quote unquote kids shows I liked, which, like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Ram and a Half, that kind of thing. Because at the time it was very
Cardcaptor Sakura. Did you watch
God, no, not that. Okay. No. No.
That might have been.
Yeah, I didn't even do Pokemon. I hated Pokemon. I don't like Pokemon. No, not that stuff.
It's a little too late.
Yeah, it was a little. Yeah, it came on again. Yeah. It came on like the end of my I like anime part of my childhood. And the thing is, I bought this because everybody was like, "It's so good. It's so this. It's so whatever." And I was still pseudo into anime, and I bought it and I watched it. And to
Mhm.
be honest, watching it this time, I realized I remembered nothing about this movie except for the undulating worm things that are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remembered. And watching the whole movie, I'm like, I don't remember any of this, like none of it. And it was just, I was like, okay, yeah,
I mean, obviously we're coming at this movie with different energies, but
yes.
I would kill to be able to like wipe my brain and watch Princess Mononoke without remembering every beat of it again, like just to
Okay.
have it new and be
Yeah.
like, wow. Anyway, but it's impossible because it's seared into my brain. So
I don't know if you get that machine from what is it?
Eternal Sunshine.
It's on Eternal Sunshine. You could send a letter to break up with the movie, have it erased from your
Oh yeah,
brain, and
but
then
then
find your way to it again.
it ends up with like me and Billy Bob Thornton like running through my subconsciousness and like trying
Really?
to hide myself, and then we meet each other in a New Jersey or a Long Island uh beach. Is that where we're going with this?
Yes, yes, that is
All
exactly where we're going with
right.
this. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I was like, where are you
um
getting Billy Bob Thornton? I was like, oh wait, it's one of the voices. Got it.
yeah,
It took
yeah.
a
So,
second.
so that's the other thing, with anime, obviously, I because I watched it as a kid, and it was the dub version. I watched the dub version. Like that's the version that like I watch, and that's like in my brain, and so that's the thing, and so that includes um all the incredible cast, voice cast, but the dub cast. So Billy Bob Thornton, John DiMaggio's in it, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And then Gillian Anderson and Keith David and all those
Yeah, I
fantastic
was
people.
listening to the Wolf God or whatever, and I'm like, I know that voice. I know what that voice is. I know
Yeah,
this voice. It's like that's totally Gillian Anderson. Looked it
yeah,
up. Totally
Agent
was. So I
Scully.
was just like, oh, it was great.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I was actually kind of worried when I watched the dub version that you'd be like a purist and be like, no, it's got to be subtitles or nothing and blah blah blah. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god, what if I missed something in the translation? And when we're talking, we talk about completely different things. And I'm like, but no, we watch the same thing, so it's fine.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. No, but also like uh, I'm sure it would be fine. I'm sure there's fantastic stuff in the sub. That's not the version that like I watched as a kid, and so I always I like hearing Agent Scully saying that she wants to crunch the human's face off, and you
Yes.
know, uh, and just yeah, Billy Bob Thornton as as this like weird monk. It's just like amazing where he's
Mhm.
he's just like so slimy. It's
Well,
fantastic.
one thing I like watching this with the dub, and like at the time, these were pretty big names. Everybody were like big names.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how did you put together this voice cast? A and B, like I just find some of them don't seem to suit like the people. Like randomly Jada Pinkett's one of the voices, and you're just like, why are you here? Is all I kept thinking. But that I don't know. That was just me.
Yeah. No, I agree. And part of it for me is like again, I those were always the voices. It's like,
Mhm.
asking why Simba. Well, so one, I think that they got all those people because they had Disney money behind.
Okay.
But I don't know what the casting process was like. But for me, it's just like, oh, those are the voices. It's not like I'm sure there's a process, but for me, because I've got the nostalgia thing going, I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh, it couldn't be anybody else.
Yeah,
That's what those characters sound like. but
that's
but
who they
that's
are to
just
you. Yeah.
pure nostalgia. That like
Mhm.
I totally get that some of them sound very like disjointed.
Well,
Uh,
like especially like Claire Danes as Princess Mononoke, I found her to be very like flat and weird. And
mhm.
like I've seen her act. Like she's like I don't know if she's done voice and other stuff now that I think about it, but it just comes across so flat and so boring. I'm just like, but why did they pick her to do this? Is it just because of her name? Or did they actually like go through a process like, no, she's the best voice for this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this was my question, but this is because I was analyzing it because I was not enjoying my viewing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Like it is um and I think anybody who's listened to other episodes that I've been on knows that like I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and like this was like a major factor in how in like fueling my love of fantasy and stuff like that. This movie is just like it's got the different factions that are like I love that Lady Eboshi is like talking about the she's like this benevolent capitalist thing, which is doing good work but is still destroying the world. And so like that part of it can't be sanctioned. Like she's still a violent force that needs to be stopped, and eventually is by the spirit of the force. But that she's still like a positive force. She's like giving the lepers a place to live, work to do, and they're proud to be part of that. And then like she's training the women and giving them jobs, which like gives them clearly a lot of self-respect and things like that. Like
Mhm.
they talk about how a lot of the women like they were hired out of brothels and things like that and put to work, and a lot of them feel that that's positive. So like it is just again I was like I was a kid, and the moral it's not actually that complex a movie, but like the I had not seen fantasy with that kind of moral ambiguity and stuff like that at that time. So for me, it was so cool.
Well, I think it's because as kids, especially in North America, where everything has to have a happy ending,
Mhm.
we are tend to be shown things that are very straightforward, like black and white. This is good. This is bad. Here's the moral of a story, like one, two, three, right? And then
Yeah.
when you get to outside of North America, even the fairy tales told by like Disney that we've all grown up with, you read the original ones and you're just like, this is very different and very dark and very gray. It's all over the place. And so I guess at that time when you watched it, you were just like, it's a cartoon, but it does other things. And you're just
Yeah,
like,
and I
what?
think the cartoonness of it, like again, I didn't really watch anime. I was aware of like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, I think, and so like there was some stuff there, but it was the sanitized version of both of them, and it like that was airing on YTV or whatever. And so like the idea of a cartoon doing some of this, like I was aware that there was like more adult themes, quote unquote, in like live action movies, right? But the fact that it was a cartoon that was like had the swords and archers and
And lots of
um
blood.
yeah, well, and it had all the like tropes of like the fantasy stuff, but then it also had these more complex and adult uh like themes and stuff. Was again just it hit me at the right time in my life, and I loved the bits.
Yeah, well, I think that's also the time period. Like, even though like there had been a quote unquote adult cartoons for years, like Fritz the Cat and all that kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
like heavy metal and everything, cartoons were considered to be a kids genre slash area slash everything, right? It's a cartoon, it's for children. And I think especially in the 90s and stuff where they're like, no, we're gonna make things like South Park, we're gonna make things like Futurama, we're gonna make things like Family Guy. And parents were just sitting there, kids in front of these things that are cartoons, because cartoons are for kids. And then everybody's throwing their hands up and they're going like, oh my God, I can't believe you're making this for children. I'm like, nobody said this was for children. And I think that's the thing with like a lot of anime that comes to North America, like Princess Mononoke and stuff. Either it's sort of like cleansed, like Sailor Moon and stuff, or it's given to us in such like a raw way that our little minds are blown when we
Yeah,
see it because we're just like, we've never seen this before.
right.
Whereas like now I think having a cartoon made for adults is kind of like a regular thing. So we're just
For
like,
sure.
just because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
anime doesn't mean it's for a child, right?
yeah,
Even though
yeah,
some
yeah.
parents, it's still that still goes over their head, and then they throw their arms up and be like, "Oh my god!" But that's a different story. Um, but yeah, like I understand what you mean about like the type of storytelling slash I've never seen this before, just kind of grabbing hold of you.
Yeah, 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 and just the themes of they talk about just like being consumed by hate or like seeing with eyes unclouded by hate, and the whole fact that everybody had a viewpoint and was angry at the others because they were against them or that they hated them, but there was no there is no dark Lord Sauron that is like big bad. Doesn't matter if that's ended, then goodness will return to the world, right? Like it was just a bunch of people trying to coexist and escalating outside of it. So like I, uh, that's always been kind of my what I like to see in any kind of story is like the humanistic approach, even with this world of like demons and forest spirits and all of this stuff. There is no like the forest spirit is this in some ways has no morality. It is both life and death. It destroys everything in its way to get its head back. It doesn't care if you were a good person. It doesn't care if or all of those things. And so there is no like morality other than what people make of it. So they have to figure it out on their own. They have to figure out how to coexist. And so that yeah, I just like that a lot.
Well, a lot of people think that this moral and it's not really a moral ambiguity. It's more of a moral grayness, like showing the humanity behind evil and like film and TV and stuff, is making it hard for like upcoming generations to be like what's bad and what's good and all this kind of stuff, which I think they're not giving kids enough credit for who they are, but
Mhm.
B, don't you think it's kind of like I said, it's graying out because some people can be bad just to be bad, or evil can just be evil, but also everybody seems to be an anti-hero these days, and you're just like,
Yeah, and like there's I think far better ways to do it and worse ways to do it. Like they have the trope that they joke about a lot where like Killmonger in the first Black Panther is a great example of this and a few other ones where it's like actually he makes a lot of great points, but they have to like have one scene and everything's on a spectrum, right? So like the laziness to the like how good the points of the villain are to the kind of laziness of how do we justify them being targeted as the bad guy. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The idea is that like you have somebody who's sympathetic who can make a lot of good points, and then you're like, oh, this is a complex villain who like has a good things, and then they have like one scene where they're like killing puppies or like burning down an orphanage or whatever, and they're like,
yeah,
well, I disagree with your tactics, and therefore we can disregard all of the other things you've said, and the heroes can come in and return the status quo exactly the way it is, right? And again, like I'm not saying Killmonger is the worst example of that. It's just like a nice, good example of it. Like TV shows do it a lot worse, where they'll just be like one scene where I'm blanking on specific examples, but they'll like um they'll have a lot of good points and then they'll just do something way over the top which kind of invalidates their previous points, and so
mm-hmm.
it's like no one actually goes back and says okay, Wakanda is back on the world stage, like they're going to repatriate all of the things that Killmonger was stealing, right? Like they're going to do this kind of the anti-colonialist stuff that he was doing, but because you know there's a more nuanced thing and they don't want to blow things up, uh, then yeah, you get that kind of gray wishy-washiness, which is like, oh, they're an anti-hero, but that's it. Where and this is what that was a long winded way of saying that I think that the the kind of grayness that happens in Princess Mononoke is better because you everybody explains where they're coming from, and at the end of the day, for me, what makes a really good villain, even if they are pure evil, is that our greatest villains were still human. They thought they were doing the right thing, or they had a reason for doing those things, and they need, they could absolutely need to be stopped. They like our greatest, greatest monsters of history, Stalin and Hitler and everybody. They were still just human beings, and the fact that a human being could rise to those levels of just pure awfulness is more I think it's more instructive than just, oh, they got bit by an evil gene,
Yeah.
like, oh, they're magically evil, and they have nothing to do with us. It's like, no, 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 fascism lives in us, and it can rise if we let it. And so instead of just like, oh, there's a few bad apples and we get rid of them, uh, then everything's fine. Regular human beings could never do anything like that. Those are monsters. And it's like, no, those monsters are human beings, and more human beings like them might show up, and we got to keep an eye out for that.
Well, I guess it's about I guess like when you see a normal human being and seeing how they got there kind of thing. Like I saw a post the other day, reminding people that Walter White's a bad guy. And I was like,
Yeah.
nobody said he was a good guy, A. But
Mhm.
B, like that shows a good example of like, no, this was like a regular guy. He taught, in a school and whatever. And then at the end of the show, he's just flat out murdering people.
Yep.
He's a drug kingpin. He's doing all of he's, like lost his family because he's just gone so off the deep end. And it happens relatively gradually in the show, like this switch in him. Like, yeah, he starts doing drugs really early, like making it, I should say. Um, but at the same time, he doesn't switch to this like horrible, conniving, sly person until quite a way into the show, where he's just like, no, 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 if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And then, but by the time he gets there, you're just like, I know how you got here, but at the same time, oh my God,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, like, yeah, the Walter Whites, the like Rick from Rick and Morty, and like a few of these other kind of like anti-heroes that are, um they're not supposed to be, they're supposed to be bad guys, but everybody kind of idolizes them anyway. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is also a problem of framing in the works that they appear in. So like, whatever Walter White does, we're always with him. The language of the TV show is portraying him as the protagonist, and even if he's not like, um always doing the right things or things we agree with, we kind of like, the language of the show, like film language, is telling us that this person is the person we should be like sympathizing with, and um and so like, and he's always the one that we hear what his justifications for are, and we like follow that around. Like, the you look at the way Skylar is framed in Breaking Bad, and like, she is right a lot of the time. She makes some mistakes. She lashes out a few times, but the way that the show like turns on her and like makes it look like she's a villain, and she's like, uh doing things to sabotage Walter White, is like, no, at best you're both terrible,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
sometimes she's in the right, but the way that the show is shot, and like, I like Breaking Bad a lot. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
cool, but like, it's just something that you're aware of, and you can see why people start sympathizing with Walter White, even like way past the point of like a human being in real life, like, would have gone far beyond the veil.
Mhm.
It's pure like badness, and is like um but like you stick with him because the show sticks with him, and so you're like, okay, he's still a compelling character. I still want to watch him. I'm still hearing what he's justifying to, like, his justifications in his head to do. Where like if it would be a very like different show if it followed other characters more. I think
Like if it
like
followed Hank or like his son or something, you'd have such a
yeah,
different view of that world and how he's reacting to things.
yeah, and not just like a few episodes or a few scenes or things like that where it follows him, but like genuinely like a Game of Thrones style multiple viewpoints thing.
Hmm.
Like if you saw, and we do get this sometimes, especially with Jesse. Jesse's always like the a good perspective on when Walter is like totally off the deep end, right? Like uh but like if they had done that with other characters as well, more so, that you could have seen like just how psychotic this this guy is earlier, maybe, and
Yeah,
maybe the show wouldn't have been as compelling. They were making like it was kind of a new thing that was happening in TV a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I think maybe that's why in Princess Mononoke it doesn't come across the same way because you have what's that guy's name in it? The guy who you technically you don't follow Princess Mononoke. You actually follow
Ashitaka,
Ashitaka.
yeah,
Um and he's sort of like neutral in between, right? So
hmm,
he comes through here and he doesn't take anybody's side and
yeah,
he is just trying to like witness what's happening. And even at the end of the movie, he's like, yes, you killed the forest spirits and all this kind of stuff, but you were doing it for this reason. We have to find a balance between nature and what you're doing. So we'll rebuild the town, but also try to figure out how to keep
yeah,
nature happy, because he's seen both sides. He's like, I know why they built this town. I know why they're doing this iron. These women and these men, they were given a place and to live and to work and everything. But then he also spent time with the gods, we'll call them gods.
yeah,
And we understand why they're mad, why they're doing what they're doing, what this place is supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like. And he's like, oh, it's not easy. She's not evil. They're not evil. It's opinions are different,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, and like even that Ashitaka can never go home again is just like such a cool thing. Like he doesn't have to help any of these people. He could just leave.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like a perpetual wanderer, and so like this is the time, this is the place where he feels he can do some good and also like build a home for himself, right? And that's interesting. Um, I love the scene where he um, San breaks into the town, tries to murder Lady Eboshi, and then gets knocked out, and he just is like, "Okay, town, you've had your say. I'm gonna take her, and I'm gonna see what's happening on the other side now." And they shoot him, and he just doesn't stop. It's
Yeah.
so, oh, he lifts the gate with his super strong super power arm. It's so, it's
His
good.
rage filled arm, yes,
Yes,
that opens
except
the
he's
gate.
not
Yeah.
enraged. He's just like he's like got the anger, like it's the like bef- years before the first Avengers movie. This is the secret. I'm always angry. Like
Yes.
he like, yeah, he's like he seems so calm, but he's able to channel all that rage at what he's seen and how they treated San, and just like lift the gate and just like, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah, like he's such a neutral figure that he's able to pretty much control all of his emotions. He never seems crazy happy. He never seems crazy angry. He never emotes or lets his emotions exceed himself, you know?
Yeah,
Whereas like other people like that you meet throughout, you see them, they're like, I'm very happy that my husband didn't die, or I'm very sad that my husband did die, or I'm very angry because I got kicked out of my house. Like everybody emotes in big amounts. Whereas
yeah,
he's very, very calm throughout the whole thing and knows how to like channel those emotions to do something specific, like
yeah,
opening the gates.
yeah, and yet he has to because every time he gets angrier, the curse spreads, right? Like it's killing him every time he uses it. And so like the first time when he shows up and the bandits, he's like saving the farmers from the bandits, and he just like wings off an arrow and it takes off the guy's
That's it.
head. Like
Mm.
he's like, oh, okay, maybe I should chill a little bit. Like maybe I gotta take a few deep breaths before I like just jump into like even this, right? Again, it was like the things he was doing, I think were justified. Again, like no, while there is like an explanation for why those bandits are attacking, that doesn't make it any less wrong or him fighting them any less righteous. But like the fact that he was doing it, he like at the end, he's like, "You should run away, bandit, because you're gonna die painfully if you continue to fight." Like he's offering already that kind of um sympathy to those bandits and is just like, no, you this is not okay, you're not allowed to do this, I will stop you, but uh you don't have to die, you don't have to have your arms ripped off while holding a sword
Yeah.
but you know for it. And anyway,
Yeah, I think he's the kind of person who knows that there's two sides to every story, and even if somebody's doing something bad or something that he doesn't agree with, he knows they're doing this for a reason, right? Like,
well, or that they need to go and like he did, like got have a like really reevaluate their life, right? Like it doesn't matter if they're doing it right, but they might be able to be like uh there might be salvation available for them later if they like figure something out.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I mean, I think with the turning into demons and letting those like undulating worm things consume you and stuff, it's just kind of like a visualization of letting like the weight of the world destroy who you are, I guess. And so I also think he is trying to keep other people from turning into that demon, keep them
yeah,
from turning into this like bad, destructive version that kills everything around them or everything they touch, you know?
yeah,
So, because I guess he already knows what that is like because it touched him and he already lost his village and lost his family and he's
hmm,
wandering around and he's killed some people and he's just like, oh, this is a bad thing. And he's just
yeah,
trying his best to like stop himself and stop other people from getting to that point, I
yeah,
suppose.
yeah. And it's like until the very end when he's cured, uh like that scene where the forest spirit brings him back to life, but doesn't cure the curse, is like it's a big deal because he still has to live with it, with the consequences of what Lady Eboshi's people did to the boar spirit, and then he got infected by it. And so like he was still having to live with that even after doing all of this stuff. And then rightly, I think that the other spirits are like, well, why does he get to come back to life? It's like, what? Well, why does the forest spirit rescue him or resurrect him instead of all these other people or save all these other things? And it's because it's not there to solve problems. The forest spirit isn't. It's there to like just exist and like uh continue this like cycle, and everybody else has to like it's kind of a like an uncaring universe. Even though it is a god, it doesn't act in the way that like a moralizing god would, where it's like, oh, these are the bad people, we're going to smite them, these are the good people, and we're going to lift them up, or I don't know, send them into the desert for 40 years or whatever gods do.
Uh, all of that talk just reminds me of that, the Futurama episode with Bender in space and he meets God. That's all that
Yeah,
reminds me of. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah,
If
because at the end of it, he's just like, what does the nebula with the blinking lights say? Something
if
about,
they, if you've done things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how it works. I mean, because you do have to do things for yourself still. You can't just like, you know, and I think that's what the thing is that the boar god and all that kind of stuff, they didn't actually like go to the forest spirit to be healed, right? They were
yeah.
infected
Well,
and they took off. Whereas like, Prince Mononoke dragged him there and was like, he's here.
yeah.
Want to do something, do
Well,
something.
one of them does. He's near the end, and he's like leading all of Jigo's men to the
Too.
forest spirit because he's
Yeah.
like, no, it's cool. Like all these creepy looking uh mercenaries in boar skins. These are my people. We're all gonna go to the forest
Mhm.
spirit. We're gonna have a great time. He's gonna heal me, and everything will be great.
Yeah.
And like going to the forest spirit with uh that kind of anger also is like uh growing his infection. The worms keep coming out of him, and like San gets consumed by them. Ah,
Mhm.
it's
But that's
gross.
after he dies, though, right? Where because he collapses and then he dies, and that's when the rage takes over, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
but he is going to the forest spirit to be
Yeah.
healed, or to ask for
Mhm.
help, and uh ask for help specifically against the humans, I think. But
So
in
yeah, I do
yeah,
have one question about that part. So he's all bleeding out or whatever, and
yeah.
then the weird dudes show up in like the skins of the other boars
There's
and
so
everything.
much vomited blood in this movie.
It's, oh my god, there's so much, and it's just like just pouring out of all kinds of holes in his body and all kinds of stuff. And I was confused for a minute, but I think I get it. Like the reason why he gets the energy again to go forward is because that boar is super old and he's blind and he's going
Hmm.
by the scent of the skins, right? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
and the blood, they've got boar blood on them. So, like the classic kind of hunter, like I don't know anything about hunting, but like the kind of trope of you like cover yourself in the scent of your prey. And so that's what they've done is they've like cloaked themselves in the boar scent. They kind of look like him, and he can't see that they look all creepy because he's blind. And um yeah, and so he thinks that he's got a big army behind him, and he's gonna have like this big last stand, and so like that feeling of uh um like I'm gonna have like Miyazaki, obviously, who wrote this, directed it, blah blah blah, is like hugely anti-war pacifist, right? Like that's in all of his movies. Most, yeah. And so like just the idea of like we're gonna have a heroic battle is like something that he would be against, and like I think that that's what we're seeing here too. Is that like the idea of leading a last like a charge of the light brigade or whatever, kind of like big militaristic final showdown to show the humans who's boss is like being actively punished both by the spreading of the curse inside of him, and also that like he's not only uh not helping or going to have the showdown he wants, but he's actually actively working against. He becomes a useful idiot, right? It's like the the hunters um are able to goad him into showing uh them where the forest spirit is so that they can shoot its head off because he is so consumed by this need to have the this big showdown and this big warrior attack. So
And this like victory that he's like
yeah,
craving,
yeah,
right? Well, I guess it
yeah,
also shows that like the futility of war kind of thing, like
hmm
how dark and horrible and pointless a lot of it is,
hmm
which I guess is a very it's a very non-North American way of thinking about war. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there are American movies and stuff like that where they're like,
yeah,
war is horrible, war is gross. But,
yeah,
most of the time it's just like, war, we're winning, yeah, woo, it's just like this, you know, thing of like valor and, makes you great if you go to war and you come back and you've done this heroic thing.
yeah,
Yeah, where this shows just like, yeah, you could think that, but you're gonna die. So
hmm
yeah, it gets very uh dark. I also
yeah,
think that's one of the reasons why I actually got turned off of a lot of anime was because it was just unpleasant, if you know
yep,
what I mean. Like
yeah,
yeah. My only note for this movie is like those worm things undulating. It makes me uncomfortable. That's literally my only note for this movie.
yeah,
And also I just kind of tuned out after a little while because I don't know, like the way of storytelling and I guess maybe the way the use of the music or whatever is very different than what we're used to. And I just found myself bored with it.
hmm
Like the story's there and I was putting it together and I'm like, oh, this is a story, blah, 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 blah. Fine. I get the story. That's not the issue. I was just like, okay, are we there yet? Like, am I actually
yep,
like marching through the forest with you in real time? Like, what's going on?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, uh, sometimes, especially, when you're 90 minutes into a movie already, and then there's like a slow scene where the one of the forest spirits, like the little dudes with the heads, just like rotates slowly and then clacks. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can move up the pace a little bit. But I
Exactly.
mean, again, the like again, yeah, for me, it's perfect. The pacing is great, but like that's not everybody's thing, and that's just what I get out of the movie. So anyway, I'm glad to have come on again with a lot to talk about with that one. If you didn't have a lot, but
Yeah.
the um I don't know if we want to move on to the other, the Princess Bride, but like we want to talk about some nice, clean moral lines of like villain, who's a villain and who isn't.
That is true. Princess Bride is pretty black and white throughout the whole
Yeah,
thing. This person's good and this person's bad. This person's good who's pretending to be bad, but they're clearly good. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
end
yeah,
of
yeah.
story. Yeah.
Technically, Inigo Montoya and Fezzik are like they start as kind of villainy, anti-hero-y things, but
Mhm.
they it's pretty clear very very early on that they're
Yeah.
good guys.
But also that they have like a moral compass. They're like,
Yeah,
no, we're not. Yeah, we're kidnapping somebody, but we didn't plan to kill her. Like that just seems
right.
crazy. And like, oh, I'm supposed to fight you, but I'm gonna give you like a proper chance to fight because I am not cheating in any
Yeah.
way. And they're both and they just like talk it out as they go, and they're just like, all right,
Yep.
I get this, I get this.
Oh
Um,
man.
well, I think too. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to Prince Mononoke for just one second.
Yeah. No. 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 Sorry, I
That
didn't mean to cut us off.
no, it's just like with these two movies, it's I think Prince Mononoke also the dialogue suffers from like the lost in translation thing
Hmm.
because the dialogue is so bland and choppy that might also be one of the reasons why I keep, you know, tuning out of it. Whereas like Princess Bride, it's so pithy, it's so on, it's so
It's
has everything. that it
it's
just
so
keeps you,
quotable.
yeah.
Every single line is like amazing. Like you said, you were just reciting every line as you were
Hmm.
watching it. And then like also to the comments about the cast, where you felt like in the dub at least the some of the casting didn't really sit well with you. The casting in Princess Bride is unbelievable. It's just
Unbelievable. Yeah.
every single uh character is just like you look at them once and you're like, oh, I know this. They're there.
Yeah.
Um, Andre the Giant is just like amazing.
Hmm.
Vasily as yeah. Well, this Sean is
Even like down to like the albino, he's in it for like
yes.
2 minutes, and like that's starting off with like the gravelly voice, clears his throat, has a normal voice. You're just like, what?
Yup.
You're amazing. It's just down to him. You're just like every single person that they have on screen, just saying
Yeah.
anything is just perfect. It's
Yeah.
absolutely perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's incredible is that like because it was based on uh the novel by William
Gold.
Goldman, and
Yeah.
then they got him to do the adaptation,
Yeah.
which is very cool too. And like obviously he's amazing at dialogue, and he's amazing at screenplays, and so like him adapting his own novel to not every writer can write a screenplay the same way they can write a novel, but like because he it was his work, and also he was an incredible screenwriter, is like
Yeah. Have you ever read
fantastic.
the book, the
I
William Gold?
haven't.
You have
No,
not. Okay.
I've
So
I've not.
I have, and one of the
Okay.
greatest things I've ever found out in my whole life reading
Oh,
this book was the interstitials with Columbo and
yes.
are part of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
reading the
yeah.
book, I'm just like, excuse me? This was not just something he just like wrote in to just introduce his story and blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. The shit where the grandpa shows up and the kid's sick and they're having a little back and forth and then he gets into the story. All of that stuff is in the book.
Because the novel's like fake abridged, right? Like it's supposed to
Yes, it's
be,
fake abridged. Yeah.
yeah. It's like theoretically there's this pure version of the story that exists, and that the actual novel is like somebody who's abridged it and taken out all quote unquote boring bits. So it's like the best parts of
Yeah.
the novel, but and so like that's yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool idea, and
Yeah, that
yeah, that like
was that was the thing that blew my mind when I read the book.
mhm.
I was just like, what? This
What?
is way too cool. I mean, there are definitely like there's of course like some parts from the book that were edited out, like, some
Yeah.
stops and like, some quote unquote boring parts, whatever, have been taken out. But I read the book like almost 10 years ago now. So I don't remember exactly what's missing. But
Mm.
most of it is there. And also in the book, well, I have the paperback, and apparently I don't know the way it's written, it seems like there was supposed to be another book.
Okay.
But I don't know if this, or maybe this is just part of the like abridged version, be like, oh, and the sequel is supposed to be this. But there's a chapter at the end that continues after the end of the movie, and it's happy and sad at the same time.
Oh,
And
I
it's
did
like,
not know
and I was
this.
like, I also want to read this book. So, but it doesn't apparently exist.
Huh.
It makes me
Interesting.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I don't know. I just love this movie.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I actually didn't watch it until much later in my life. Like I didn't watch it as a kid. Um and so like I watched it for the first time I think in college, or maybe
Wow,
very
very
late
late.
high
Yeah.
school. Yeah, and
Mm.
and but like every time I watch it, it's just better and better. And it's like it's one of those things that um the more I know about, the more other movies I see, the more I appreciate this movie. Like it's so incredible, and it plays with the tropes so well, and it is just like it knows exactly what it is and what it's doing and what it wants to do, and it does those things so
so well.
effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and that's like watching the movie as well is like you could see how easily it could have gone wrong because it's kind of campy, it's kind of
yeah,
B movie looking and all this kind of stuff. Like especially like scenes in like the fire swamp and stuff where you have the stupid ROUS, which is clearly just a dude in a suit
yeah.
on all fours. Like
It's so awkward watching him
it's
just kind of like scuttle around.
exactly, but but then Wesley gets up and he just like stabs him with the sword, and you're just like, "Oh, die, you stupid rodent!" And it's
Yeah,
just so good. But you can clearly see how that scene could have just gone if the acting was off, or the angle was off, or how it was cut together
yep,
wrong. It could have just fallen flat. You'd have been like, "So what's the big deal?" Or you don't care, or like the sword fighting scene clearly on like it looks like a play almost, and like
yeah,
if the banter didn't go well and if they didn't have like good chemistry on screen, you could see how it could have fallen flat and been tacky, or like if they overdid the choreography or something. And it just works so well that
hmm,
it's like shocking to me that
yeah. And
it
I think
didn't do bad.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it didn't do great in the box office. Like, I think it was one of these long tail movies, right? Where it
Mm.
like, it, it came out and people were like, didn't quite know what to make of it. And then it just like home video cult classic, like, the longevity of it obviously speaks for itself, but it's like, but I think a lot of that too is like not just everything has to go right, but that's where like the casting is so perfect too, right? Where like the Billy Crystal shows up to do the Miracle Max stuff,
Yeah.
like, but even just yeah, the first uh fight scene at the top of the what are the
The
Cliffs
Cliffs
of
of
Insanity?
Insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like they both like you have to have two actors who can both sell the line I am not left-handed. And like also they have to sell the fight in between where they're like
Mm.
they're like they're still in a fairy tale story, so like they're they're still like play fighting, sword fighting, stage combat, like you say, it's like a
Mm.
play, but they're still like in it. They you watch it, you believe that those two characters are actually like dueling it out, and they're like selling it. I don't know. I'm not explaining myself well, but
No, but like no,
yeah,
I get it because like even at the especially at the end of the fight when Indigo was getting frustrated that he's losing, and Mandy Patinkin clearly looks frustrated on his face,
yeah,
and he's just like, I've spent my whole life fucking doing this. I should be able to beat you. And then he
yep,
fails. And he's just like, just kill me. I've just wasted my whole life. Just fucking kill me. And you're like, you believe that. You're just like,
yeah,
yeah, he wants to die because he's spent what 20 something years training to beat this one dude, and he can't beat random dude who climbed off a cliff. Like, oh my god,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I have a question that I actually just occurred to me on this like rewatching of it. Um, so we have the sword fight, and then like Fezzik is there, and he's like throwing rocks, and then they decide to like have a little wrestling match, and he overpowers them. But then the famous Iocane power scene, right, where it's
Yes.
like figuring out. I always forget that Wesley suggests the idea of these two goblets of wine, one of them a
Iocane
with the
powder.
iocane powder, with the poison in it, because Vasily is sitting there with like a full picnic set up with the two glasses ready. So
Yeah.
like I see that and I'm like, aha, of course he's waiting for Wesley to show up so that he can propose this battle of wits. But it's not him. He's apparently just having a fucking picnic. I
But
don't
to be honest,
know.
I think he was just tired. He's like, I need a break. I want to eat an apple and drink a little wine. And then he sees Tim coming around the corner, and he's just like, ah, crap, where's my knife? And just puts it to her neck, kind of thing. I think
But
that's what happened.
yeah, but he puts in two glasses too. Like, it's like what he's gonna use princess that
Well,
he's
she's
I don't
gonna have
know.
a sip too. I mean,
I guess, yeah. It just anyway. It's just like it's one of those things that like it goes by so fast that it doesn't matter. I'm along for the ride. I'm along for the story. Like the structure of the first we're gonna challenge Indigo, then we're gonna challenge Fezzik, then of course there's gonna be a challenge with
Mhm.
Vasily um is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's only I looked this up. It's only 6 years after my dinner with Andre. So Wallace Shawn is like just
uh,
like selling the shit. I actually saw him once in a play in New York. We like years ago, obviously before the pandemic, but it was just incredible to see him like act in a play, just like doing acting stuff,
yeah.
and like this guy who is just shouting inconceivable and just like at 110% in this movie
Yeah.
can also do the nuance of like he's a really impressive stage actor
Yeah.
and also he's just like don't start a land war in Asia.
And so like I think that's one of the things that works for this. He's like he sort of stage projects in that scene, like
Mm-hmm.
his with his like facial movements are so overly exaggerated and he's so loud and he's like so into it. But with the camera close up, you're just like, this guy's fucking manic.
Yeah.
And then he dies. And you're just like, what? That's crazy.
His death is also amazing. He's just like er, boink.
Yeah. It's kind of sad when Prince Humperdinck shows up and they just leave his body in the woods. They're just like, oh, he's it must be done about an hour now. Let's keep going, and they just like ride off past him. I'm like, you're just leaving him there? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
And that's I think before it's revealed that Humperdinck hired him to do this whole crazy ass scheme.
Yep. You're like,
Like,
he just wants to start a war with Gilder for some reason. We're just like, all right, is
yeah.
this like a WMD business? Like, is this just for the economy? Like, what's happening here? I don't know.
He
But
wants to rule the world. Try ruling the world.
I guess. I mean, but so he's in Italy, right? Yeah, because they talk about like
Okay,
Sicily
so
and not Venice. What's the other one? It's the other V
so
place.
so yeah, we were listing because I think that, like, this is a meme I've seen before online, but yeah, the uh Leah and I were just listing off all of the real world places that exist in this fantasy world. Because yeah, Florin and Gelder are. Leah pointed this out to me that they're both um, currencies. Like a florin was a coin,
Hmm.
probably from Florence. I don't know. And Gilder was also a coin of some kind. So those are the two fake kingdoms, and
Yeah.
obviously, there's no fire swamp or cliffs of insanity in real world Italy. But
It might have been back in the day.
all right, fair enough. I'm no geologist. Uh, but yeah, like uh Vasily's from he says he's from Sicily
He's
because
a
never
Sicilian, yes.
yeah never bet against a Sicilian when life is
When
on the line.
when death is involved.
Death is on the line, whatever. And I have approximate knowledge of many quotes. But then like he says, don't get into a land war in Asia. So Asia
Mhm.
exists, I guess.
Yeah.
He found Fezzik in Greenland,
Yes.
unemployed. Um, where else? Oh, Australia exists
Yes.
because that's
They're
where all
full
the
of
criminals
criminals.
are.
Yeah, and that's where iocane
Um,
powder comes from. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And think that was all the ones we noticed. Oh, in Spain, of course, because
Oh
that's
yes.
where Indigo Montoya is from. So he's a
Yes.
Spaniard. So like they've traveled from Spain to Fairy Tale Land.
Spirit. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I have to go find the Cliffs of Insanity myself just to look up and be like, ooh, that is tall.
Yeah.
I would have to take a boat through eel infested waters just to make sure it doesn't capsize, but it'd be fine. Yes.
Oh,
But
that big eel.
yeah, it truly is a fantasy land that has all of the cool things in it. We made wizards, we made a giant, giant rodents, flames just bursting out of the earth. There's no dragons. We do
Mhm.
it. I mean, that's not really a dungeon he's kept in, right? That's just like a underground lair
I
of
I
some
think it's
sort.
more of a dungeon than like, the kind of weird labyrinths that sometimes exist as dungeons. But it's an
Mhm.
underground place where you get locked in and potentially tortured. I think
Yeah,
I think that counts.
it counts as a dungeon. Okay, and there's
Yeah.
castle, of course.
Yep.
Talk of pirates. Great. What's the guy who was before Wesley is the Dread Pirate Roberts? It was like oh my god,
Oh,
what
is
was his
his
name? It
name?
was something. It was something so stupid when he was just like,
The
I'm
one,
actually this.
yeah, the two pirates before him is Cumberbund. Uh,
Cumberbund, yes, yeah.
but I can't remember what the middle one was. It was like
Oh, it was Ryan. It was
oh
Ryan.
yeah.
I was like, what? That's such a normal name. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Yes.
And it
Um,
might be Indigo at the end.
exactly. But there's just so much in this movie that is um wonder like I was already talking about the sets where half the sets are like just outside, clearly
Mhm.
outside, whatever, fine. And then and like another quarter of the sets just look like a stage.
Yeah, like
And
a
then
Star Trek style soundstage where they have like one corner of a place.
yeah, and you're just like, what is happening here? And then there's the sets like in the castle and stuff, which almost look like they were filming in an actual castle. And I was like, why is everything pick a style, but also for each scene, the background completely works. Like if they
Yeah.
changed anything, like made it too realistic or too fake looking in any direction, it would just ruined everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, like because like there's even like the part where Wesley just had the miracle pill or whatever, and they're like on the wall, and it's like
Yeah.
that wall's cardboard, whatever. They're looking over, and you're just like, that is so cheesy, but I love it.
And also it's like you're like for me at least, I'm not paying attention so much to the wall. I'm paying attention to the amazing physical comedy of him flopping his head around and then being like, "Oh, there's no possible way we could get it past 60 men. I mean, not unless we had a wheelbarrow." It's like, oh, if we have a wheelbarrow, that changes everything.
Without the wheelbarrow, he needs a month. With the wheelbarrow, give me 5 minutes. You're like, what?
Yeah,
What? The Holocaust cloak and so I remember the
yeah,
book. They mention how he gets the Holocaust cloak, but that's cut out of the movie.
yeah. It's almost
Um,
funnier where he's just like, "Oh yeah, I have one of those." It's like we've never heard about it before. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, he did Miracle
it's like,
Max,
yeah, it
and
just fits
it's
so
a keep
good. Yeah. It's
It's like
fantastic. I love it.
while he's bringing people back from the dead, why don't you just give us a couple of other things?
I mean, my question is, why aren't more pills covered in chocolate? That's all. Give me an aspirin covered in chocolate. It'll be much easier to take. What is what is the problem?
I think that's $1 million idea that we could get going, which is just like literally over the counter medication, but dipped in chocolate every time.
Like, dip, here you go.
Yeah,
What is this? Is
there
this
we go.
okay? You're like, yes, yes, it is. Come on, give me chocolate covered aspirin.
Yeah, they got chocolate covered espresso beans. Why not
Mhm.
chocolate covered
Yeah.
um uh, Adderall?
Come on, it tastes good, and now I can think. Let's go.
Right?
I mean, I think this goes with the stop trying to make drugs more attractive to children thing, but at the same time, adults still have to suffer while taking things to make themselves feel better. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and the other workarounds like washing it down with whiskey. It's like you feel like a little bit skeezy. And so if it was just
exactly.
like coated in chocolate, you have like a little chocolate fountain that you
Hmm.
dip your meds in. and
And
maybe
they're good.
followed it up, yeah, with a
Yeah.
marshmallow or something.
Like, you know how they do the gel capsules, like the liquid on the inside or whatever? Why?
Yeah,
And they also have chocolates that have liquor on the inside. It's all liquid and stuff. Do it the same way. Oh my God. Oh, it makes things so much easier. Yeah,
come
every once in
on.
a while, if I gotta get like Tylenol or something, I ask them, I'm just like, look, how many children chewable Tylenol can I take for one Tylenol? They're like four. I was like, fine, I will chew four Tylenol instead of taking one Tylenol.
There we
I will
go.
do that. It makes my life easier. Now, if it's
Are
just
you
chocolate, boom.
still on the Flintstone vitamins?
No, no, no. If I get Flintstone vitamin, I will just eat the whole thing and poop chalk for a week. We can't do that. It's too much. It's too much. Not going that far. Yes, I am
Yeah,
a child with money
yeah.
sometimes.
There we go.
Hey,
Yeah, but
it
also you
works.
could just buy candy, but that's
I
fine too.
can. Yes, that also works. That also works.
Yeah.
What else? Prince Humperdinck is, oh my God, he is bad for no reason, but
Yes.
in like the I don't even he's just so grimy,
Yeah.
and you even realize it even before you know he's bad. You know he's bad. You know what I mean? As soon as he like comes
Yep.
on screen tracking, and you're just like, no, I don't like you.
Ugh.
You're
Yeah.
the worst. God, he does such a good job.
And what always like amazes me about this movie is that you've got Christopher Guest right there, and he's not like he's amazing. Like everybody is so well cast, and he can do that kind of like wry, like just inject the tiniest amount of humor into what are basically like really straightforward lines. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of comedic beats. Like he just is introduced looking menacing with fingers on his hand.
Uh-huh.
But you don't need a Christopher Guest to be that character, but like it just is that much funnier when there's just like an eye twitch or an eye movement or like
Yeah.
or he
Well,
just
my favorite part is when he first puts on like the machine to torture
yeah
Wesley turns it on and he's just like, how do you feel?
yeah
It's like, oh my God.
yep yep
It's fantastic. It's just they just managed to get like everybody hit all of the right notes at the right time in the right way.
yes
Like there's no question about anybody's motives with anything that they're saying or doing at any point because
yeah
everybody does it just so well.
hmm
Yeah. Again, we're just praising this movie. It's fine.
that's great. There's like this movie's been around a long time. A lot of people I think know what they feel about it, and I
Mm.
think it's just nice to gush about something that's great.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
it like the okay, I have another question though, which again occurred to me when I was watching it this time. Is that they tell the story. The man with the six fingers on his right hand came and ordered the sword, and then demanded it for like what, a tenth or a fifth of the or agreed upon price. And it's an amazing sword. And then he kills his father, and like cuts Inigo on both cheeks, but then he leaves the sword.
Yeah, that's one part I never understood. But I like the movie too much not to think about it.
Exactly. No, I think that's actually that's a really good point. Is that it's like it doesn't matter like
Mhm.
that because that's not what the movie's about. It's not it's like it's what's about it is like the feelings and the revenge plot. Like when he stands up after pulling the knife out of his gut, and it's like, oh, like, what's really awesome too is that like it's comedic the whole way through, and then you get to I want my father back, you son of a bitch,
Oh my
and you're
God,
like,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like you genuinely feel for this guy who is like making jokes about like oh it's let me explain, no it's too much, let me sum up like That was 10 minutes ago, and suddenly you're
Yeah,
like, oh god, get up.
yeah. Now you're at an Oscar-winning moment. You
Yeah,
know, you're getting the revenge you've always been seeking, and
yeah,
you're gonna do it, and it's justified. Like, oh
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Get
It's
you a Mandy Patinkin who can do both.
he's so great. I think it's very sad when people say like Mandy Patinkin. Oh, are you talking about the guy from I don't know something other than Princess Bride? And I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's Princess Bride,
Well,
guys. Just Princess Bride. You don't talk like yes, he's been in these other things, but we
mhm.
say Princess Bride. That's just
Yep.
what it is. You
Apparently
know.
very difficult to work with on the first two seasons of Criminal Minds. You know.
Yes. Yes. And he got out of there. Apparently he was
Yep.
on both sides. Like he was difficult to work with because he didn't get along with anybody. And
Mhm.
then because he had a certain way of doing things apparently. And I'm not justifying like asshole behavior or anything, but he was just like, well, I was an asshole because they weren't doing anything right. And then they're just like, he
Yeah.
was just being an asshole. And they're like, okay, just leave then. Done.
Yep.
But then he came back and he did that other show with Claire Danes. Ah, movies are connected. Um, the one with the guy who comes back from war and stuff, and she cries a lot. Oh God, what's that movie? That show? Oh, it's a show I should really just know off the top of my head, but I just don't right now. Um,
I think you need to give me a little bit more if I'm gonna
um,
try and help you out with
she
this.
does a lot of ugly face. There's a lot of war. Homeland. Homeland.
Oh,
There you go. I also did not watch that show, so maybe
I
that's
I
why I can
haven't
tell
watched
you more.
any of it actually, so I don't know anything about it.
I've watched like 10 minutes of one episode, and I was just like, I don't know what's happening. Because Mandy Patinkin was talking to Claire Danes and she was crying for some reason. Then it was cutting to like the redheaded dude, and he was like in a bunker somewhere. And I was just like, I'm okay. And then change the channel. That was it. My man. She just did a lot of crying. But I think part of her character in the show is that she's got like she's bipolar or something. I don't know what it is. I keep saying things of a show that I haven't watched. I should just stop. I'm gonna stop.
Point is, Mandy Patinkin is great in this movie, and we don't have to look at anything else.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
What other do I have any more notes? Well, I already talked about the other thing I wanted to talk about was we're gonna go back to the sword fight on the top of the cliffs of Insanity.
Yeah.
I just want to say I miss when movies and stuff just showed the action.
Yep.
Like, because the camera just sat back. Yes, it followed them along, but it sat back and was like, they are doing these things. And you could just see what they were doing.
Yeah.
Whereas I find a lot of like, yes, there are some movies where it works, but there's a lot of movies where there's an action sequence and they like cut everything so fast together.
Yep.
You have no idea what's happening. You're just like, I guess something happened. You know, like or like they make
Yeah.
it just so overly complicated what they're doing
Mhm.
that you're just like, I don't get it and I can't get into it because I don't get it. Whereas like
Yeah.
this, you see everything and you're just like, good. Oh my God.
Yep. Yep. Even the like clearly like again the kind of over the topness of like the sword goes flying up off the top of the screen and then is pretty clearly just drops from like somebody just off screen but like so back into his hand but it's like they did that in front of
Yeah.
the camera like it was practical and it worked
Mhm.
yeah, one of my favorite scenes like totally different genre obviously but that kind of action stuff is in Atomic Blonde actually
Mhm.
which is a great movie for a lot of reasons
So
or at
many
least I think
reasons.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fight scene in the stairwell where
Mhm.
it just goes on forever and the camera doesn't move very much and it's just like the two of them beating the shit out of each other and they're getting exhausted and they're like it is a brutal scene and you just like you can feel it and you can see it all happening in camera and it's not like those quick cuts to show every punch or whatever it's
Yeah.
anyway
No,
that's just
I like and I think that's also one of the reasons why that movie works so well, Atomic Blonde. I mean, is that
Yeah.
I think there's what? There's three proper like fight scenes, I think, in it.
Mm.
And that are like lengthy, not like 2 seconds, like punch a guy, walk away, or
Right, right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but like a scene. And it is, they quote unquote make it realistic because as they're going through the scene, clearly the two people involved are getting tired and are getting
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're bleeding, they're bruising, they're whatever, they're slowing down, they're breathing heavily, they're just like, holy shit, why won't you just drop? Like, God, I punched you so many times, please stop fighting back, you know? And it's
Yeah.
so clear that you're like, oh wow. And then you're watching it, and because it's just also like a lot of them seem like one shot. Of course, they have tricks where they cut in
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
ways, but it also seems like one continuous shot a lot of the time, and you just see everything. You see how they go from here to here and why they're in this condition at the bottom of the stairs compared to the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, and it's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
You understand the geography of the fight, which is the same thing in um Princess Bride, where like, okay, we're on the edge of this cliff. We multiple times you see them fight to the edge of the cliff, right? Like, oh, why are you laughing? As Inigo is forced nearly to the edge of the cliff. It's like, oh, because I am not left-handed, and then he switches, and then they fight back, and then suddenly, Wesley is like going to the edge of the cliff, and so you can like understand the stakes of it, in the same way as yeah, Atomic Blonde too, where you like, and that movie also has a lot of like tropes and heightened like non-reality and things like that. There's like a lot of stuff in there that isn't realistic. It is intentionally a heightened spy movie. That like, but it, obviously different ways. But like the fight scenes know what they're about, which is you like introduce the characters who are fighting, you introduce what the stakes are for the fight, and then you see the fight play out, and you're like are rooting for the person because you understand why they're fighting, or they're and how the fight is actually progressing, so that there's like narrative arcs within the fight. Be like, oh, this person's got the upper hand right now, and like again with the Princess Bride, it's so elevated because it's literally like, okay, this person's losing, and then they switch hands. To go back to the anime
Yeah.
thing, it's like, and then Goku takes off his weighted training like sleeves, and suddenly he's way more powerful.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's, like you thought I was you were like we were on even footing, but it turns out I was going easy on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. and
Yeah.
and the thing is too, like as you said, they introduced like the stakes, they introduced whatever, but they also introduced the space, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
like that scene, especially like on the Cliffs of Insanity, you see the whole space several times. Like,
Yep.
this is where this fight is gonna happen, right?
Yep.
And in Atomic Blonde too, like that stairwell fight, you see the stairs. Like, she gets out of, I think she was like in the elevator or coming out of a door, and you see the stair. Like, they show you the stairs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they introduce, this is the space that this thing is gonna happen. So like
Yep.
the space is like a character in the scene. Like, it's part of this fight. And they're gonna have to like use it and play with it and do all these things to make like this scene work. And
Yep.
it works so well. Like, as we said, like they're two very different genres, but they almost do the same thing to make those fight sequences still seem intense without being choppy and confusing.
Well, and not just chopping and confusing, but like serve a narrative purpose in the thing. Like we learn so much about, like, while they're showing the scene exactly as you're describing in on the cliffs of insanity, like that's the scene where they're talking. Like one, we see the initially where it's like, okay, your instructions are to stay here, and murder him, or like either have him fall or murder him when he gets up here. It's like, okay, so we've learned something about that, and then we see him not follow those instructions, and meanwhile the camera is like showing us kind of what the ledge looks like, and then he gets up to the top. We've already learned that he's like not just not comfortable with murdering Princess Buttercup, but is like intentionally helping Wesley up so that he can have a proper sword fight. And then like he has him sit down and catch his breath, which is like the best character one, not the best because there's so many amazing character beats,
Yeah.
but also again we're seeing more of that scene. We're seeing where the set looks like, because it's not that big, as you also pointed out. So by the time they actually start fighting, yeah, like it's not like they've wasted the time, or like they did something tricky to get us to show us the scene. Like that was all progressing the story. We were learning more about the characters. We were laughing because they were making jokes. Like all of that stuff was happening while we were also subconsciously being introduced to the geography, and then be like, okay, now we're gonna have a fight. You know exactly what this place looks like.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you
and
know
yeah.
that they're both like honorable, witty people by the time that they start fighting.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a good point, is that this movie is really good at explaining people and purposes without exposition.
Yeah,
So, like, even when you first meet Fezzik and Indigo and Vizini, you are like, oh no, these two are friends, and that guy's just their boss, and he's a
yeah,
jerk, and they're fucked, right? And then you get to Close Sandy, and you realize, no, Indigo is not just like a bloodthirsty criminal. He has morals, and he has a certain way of doing things, right?
yeah.
Then also you get to Fezzik when Vizzini tells him like how he kills people, and he's like, that sounds horrible. Why would I kill a person like that? The way I do things apparently is a bad thing. So then he
Yeah,
doesn't do it
it's not
that way.
quote unquote my way. It's not very sporting.
Right. you
um,
know. And like,
yeah,
and as you meet people throughout the thing, they show their colors
yeah,
without, just being like, I'm a good person and blah blah blah. They're like, through their actions and through their conversations, you figure that out surprisingly quickly. At that, it doesn't take half the movie to be like, oh no, he's doing this for this reason and he's really this kind of person. It's
right.
very quickly, 2 seconds, and you're like, I got it. I know who these people are, and I know who these people are, and I know who these people are. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't have to have a Lost style like 45 minutes where we're constantly cutting back to like a traumatic thing that happened in their past that like totally explains why they're doing the things they're doing in the present. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very clear. And like when you think about it, there's a lot of complex characters, like not complex necessarily, but like uh the characters aren't necessarily complex, but there's a lot of different um character interactions and like interrelationships, right? So, like you say, that Vasily was like their boss, and so like and then they also have their own relationship with each other, like Fezzik and Nigoto do, and then they like learn to like appreciate Wesley, and they have opinions about the guy with the six-fingered man. Like it's almost like there's two protagonists in this story, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
two separate stories that are going on. So that's like it's just a lot of stuff that you have to like tell the audience. You're like introducing new characters that it's like, oh, there's Miracle Max, like, and he has a wife, and like we don't have a lot of time to like spend with them, but like immediately you get the character, you get what they're doing. It's just I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. It's
Yeah.
very efficient and capable to like introduce
Yeah.
all of these different relationships.
Yeah, and there's lots of characters in here and stuff, and usually it's with this many characters, and like, I mean, really there's only one B story, but there's sort of like mini stories going along the whole time,
Hmm.
because like you have the story of like Buttercup and Wesley,
Right.
yes. Then you have, Indigo trying to revenge his father's death. You have that. Then you have the plot of Prince Humperdinck going on.
Try. Yeah.
And
Trying to
then
start the murder
you
or
start the
start the war.
murders and
Yeah.
stuff, and then you have like all these little people who have their own like background. Like, no, the albino doesn't really have a background, but he's kind of creepy and lives in the dungeon,
Yeah.
whatever. And then you have like, you get the whole backstory of Miracle Max and his wife in like 2 seconds, It happens.
Right.
It's in there. You get like you meet the guy who's the head of the guard who's supposed to protect the
Yeah.
building, and you find out like, oh no, he's in charge. He's got a spy network, but he's kind of like he's scared about things and blah blah blah. But he only says like 10 words the
Yeah.
whole thing
Yeah.
when you meet
He's
him
only in like
twice.
3 scenes.
Yeah, but
It's
you
like,
get so much information because of like
right.
acting style and like how the dialogue is so good and like how just like the space they use is, and you're like, oh, this is cool. I like this, you know.
What key? Says tear his arms off. Oh, you mean this key?
It's and like it's just it's so perfect. Like even if you go to like the priest who's got a speech impediment for some reason, and you're just like, like it's for no reason,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it fits perfectly somehow, and it
Yeah,
works.
we need to have like the kind of long drawn out marriage scene that's in a lot of movies, right? It's a trope, but like, how are we gonna make it funny and like without introducing a bunch of different things or whatever? It's like oh, he's just gonna talk in a funny voice. Like,
Done.
it's like, all right,
Check
done.
mark. And even like the king, like he's in 2 scenes. He says 2 words, which is she kissed me, and you're
Yeah,
just like, oh my god, so your son's just an asshole and you were probably like a great king, you're just old and he took over. Got
yeah,
it. Like it's just these small scenes, but you get to know everything about all of the characters.
yeah,
And I find sometimes that's a thing, that's a real problem in movies for today. Like it may not be more information than this movie, but they just don't know how to do it without making it seem just like heavy and bloated and unnecessary
yeah.
and
No,
all
no,
this
no.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to like understand very quickly, especially, this is still ostensibly a kids movie. Like,
Mm.
it needs to be communicated very effectively. Like, this is who we're talking about. This person wants this thing. And so every scene, you understand why they're fighting. You understand what they're trying to do. You understand like why it's funny that Fezzik just like knocks in a door and then walks away without even looking inside. Like, it's like it's just it's really done. And to like again bring back Dungeons and Dragons, like that's a thing that also is hard to do when you're like, you have these people sometimes who like write intricate backstories and all like world building and all this stuff. It's like you got to convey it really quickly. You got to like, be like, okay, what are we doing? Anyway, it's just it's really clearly well crafted like storycraft and like efficient uh um directing and screenwriting. It's
Yep.
cool.
And it's standing the test of time. And it's one of those movies too that is like, you know how a lot of movies are aging badly, not because of like how they're filmed, but just because of their content. And like
Yep.
this has great content. And
Yep.
a lot of movies are aging badly because too many movies copied it, and people are just like, well, I've seen this 800 times, and then you see the first movie, you're just like, well, I've seen this before.
Right.
No movie has done this
Mm-hmm.
since. Many have tried, some have tried. No, quite a few have tried. Like a lot of fantasy movies have tried. They have not been able to hit this tone in any way. And
It's
it's just
a
work.
really difficult tone to hit right.
Yeah, yeah. So that's again going back to what I said all the way at the beginning of this. I'm just like, I don't know how they pulled it off because it could have gotten so bad, but
Yep.
they did it and it works. It's like
It's so good.
I'm scared to say it, but it's like perfect. It really kind of is. Yes.
Yeah. Now here's the real question though.
Yes.
What are the Star Trek connections to these movies?
Well, Vizzini
Yeah.
is on Deep Space Nine. He plays a Ferengi who is in charge of stuff. I think his name is Vec. Is it Vec? I can't remember what the name of the character is. God damn it. I really should remember because it's a big character and he marries like Quark's mother and all kinds of stuff. It's a whole thing.
Really?
He does. He
Oldest Sean.
does. He's the Grand Nagus, right? Um,
I don't,
but I,
sure.
yes. You're just like, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. This
You
is
know,
crazy.
the I've always been more of a fan of the regular Nagus, but the grand one, it seems a little ostentatious, but
It's a bit much. Yes, I understand that. Hold on. I just where is it? Oh yeah, no. I'm still in like the two. He's been in so many things. Yeah, it's Zek. Yeah, Zek. Yeah, I was right. I actually did remember his name. Thank you
I
very
doubted you.
much.
I did. I was like, Tracy, she doesn't know her Star Trek.
Doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Mm-hmm.
And in Princess Mononoke, I'm pretty sure John DiMaggio does voices on Lower Decks now.
That makes sense.
So I'm just assuming so because he does voices in everything.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna go with it. Um, oh my god, I'm not seeing Lower Decks on here yet. Wait, hold on.
You can cut this out so that you have it.
So I sound
Well,
smarter.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
know what I'm talking
We'll
about.
do a clean take of you being like, and it's exactly this episode, and then you can just cut that in.
Okay, so John DiMaggio does not do any voices on Lower Decks. Oh my god.
He's too
I
busy
am
with
I
every
am
other show.
exactly. I am legitimately surprised at that.
Yeah.
Who else could it be? I wonder
Has
if
Gillian Anderson ever been on Star Trek?
no, but she is in the X-Files and I love the X-Files, so that works just fine for me.
Fair enough.
No, it's not him either. Oh yeah, he plays this is the voice of Glossaric. Hmm. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious and somebody's gonna be yelling at me soon about it.
Has Keith David not been in Star Trek at all?
That's what I just looked up, and no, he
Okay.
hasn't.
Huh.
Um,
He's also been in everything, kind of.
exactly. Yeah. So he was like the second person I clicked on. I was like,
Yeah.
hasn't he been in stuff? I feel like I looked this up yesterday and I've already just forgotten what it is. Let's
Absolutely.
let's check Billy Cudrup for no reason because he's just been in a lot of random things. So it's
I
totally
think your
possible.
audience is disappointed in you at this point.
I know they are. They have to be. It's not him. It's fine. I mean, on my last episode, my guest Adam, he's the one who's just like, this guy was in Star Trek, and I was like, wait, what? I was very confused about the whole thing. But yeah, they were. I was like, this is amazing.
I mean, there might not be.
No, there has to be. There are so many voices in this podcast. I really hate the new IMDb. It drives me nuts.
Minnie Driver?
I don't think so. I can still look. Nope, not her. Let me check Billy Bob Thornton. Maybe he showed up in like a like head to toe costume, and that's why I can't think about it.
I just did a Control F for Star Trek on his, but couldn't find anything. But
no, that's literally what I do when I can't find things. So did the same thing. So no, I guess none of the regular people we think of were on it. That's sad, isn't it? Tisk. Look, I'm just checking Gillian Anderson just in case, but I feel like that's something I would have like picked up on.
Yeah, that would be taking up important brain space, I think.
Exactly. But yeah, no. Oh well, it's fine.
Well, yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe I'll get a message at some point, be like, no, this person was in Star Trek. And I'm like, okay, it was somebody at like the bottom of the cast list that I was just like, random person number 3. Or additional voices. That's right. When it's animation, it's additional voices, not random person number 3. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so we at least have one connection.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And that's a solid one. Marrying Quark's mom.
Well,
to
be honest, was it Mandy Patinkin was he in an episode of the X-Files? I'm pretty sure he was. Well, Cary Elwes was. So that's what Gillian Anderson, and Gillian Anderson was in Princess Mononoke. So can we do like 3 degrees of separation? That's fine.
Yeah.
That works? Okay. There you go. We have our connection.
You make the rules.
I make all the rules I want.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. I don't know. That's it. That's all I got, I think. I mean,
yeah, me too. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to gush about these 2 movies that we both agreed on one of them, and the other one I'm probably going to go watch again this week.
I mean, even though I'm not gushing about Princess Mononoke, it was good having a discussion because we both understand the themes and the thoughts, and like there is a deepness to it. I just didn't thoroughly enjoy the presentation, even though there's lots of very pretty scenes in it.
And I think that's totally fair. Like, it's not for everybody. Again, it hit me at the right time, right in the childhood, and it was, it was the thing for me. But that doesn't mean it has to be the thing for everybody.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Even though sometimes that can be difficult. Be like, what are you talking about? That's still garbage. But I didn't this time, guys.
Well, yeah, we can talk about our disagreements about other movies later, but
yes, that's a completely different episode for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. On the next episode, we'll be talking about Pulp Fiction and Punch Drunk Love. Hope you'll be here to listen.